Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel, Paintbrush in Hand. My name is Paola. If you don't know, I run an art page called Arte por Lola where I post my surreal paintings and my surreal creations through all of these social medias and my website, which will be linked down below if you want to check out my full portfolio. Here on YouTube I do videos where I study art and I kind of talk you through the process of how it is that I learn, because I am self-taught, or self-taught through the school of YouTube is kind of what I like to say. Basically today I have my paintbrush in hand and I have one color mixed, this kind of like super dark brown color. Sorry that I'm using a little bit of a dirty palette. And at this point I am starting the second maja. So this is gonna be la maja vestida. So this is the clothed maja for my little studies on Goya's Majas. So let me show you what I'm doing. First, I'm just going to be painting the background. So I like to paint the background first because I like to go into my paintings with nice confident brush strokes. On today's video, I kind of just wanted to talk to you guys about the Majas, tell you a little bit about what I learned through how I painted them, because one of the reasons why I wanted to paint Las Majas is because I typically do paintings where I include a lot of nude figures, and so in my research of paintings that also have nude figures, I found out that Goya's Majas were the first non-biblical and non-mystical naked woman painting. Goya is one of my favorite artists. If you are in the same area as me, which is in the Bay Area in Santa Cruz, they have the Dali Museum, and it's like the largest collections of work by Dali in one area, but they also have a lot of drawings and etchings by Goya. And if you ever have a chance to go check it out, I 100% recommend going to check it out. Goya is one of those artists that just is so powerful and so cool, and just, I don't know, you need to go see his work if you have a chance. So I've been studying Las Majas, and I kind of just wanted to give you guys a little prep on what it is that I'm kind of trying to find as I paint the Majas. So one, I'm trying to find technique. I think I should have started with the second Maja. As I'm looking at the image that I'm kind of like trying to replicate, I'm noticing that the second Maja is a lot more loose. It doesn't have as much detail as the first Maja, which is a lot more strict, a lot more studied, a lot more just like focused. I don't know, like all of the lines are exactly where they're supposed to be, and I think that you can really tell in like the fabric, but you can also really tell in the chair. The chair is less intricate, and just this Maja I think would have been a little bit easier to paint than the first one, but I did paint the first one first. Let me see if I can show it to you. Okay, this is what the first Maja, the Maja Desnuda, looks like, and she looks really cool. This part of the chair doesn't exist in the second Maja, and just the overall like flushiness of the detailing of the pillows is also really different. It's also more similar to what I was actually able to accomplish. Obviously Goya is one of the last masters of painting, and his like little, I don't know how to say it, tul, en español es tul, pero como the little embroidery mesh fabric detailing of the pillowcases is crazy on Goya's painting, and it just definitely is not to that level in my little sketch. But these paintings in particular are pretty controversial, or at least were at some point in history. They were confiscated by the Spanish Inquisition for a little bit of time, and Goya actually had to go to trial to explain why it is that he made these paintings. So not me showing you this half-ass painting. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's paint. Let me tell you a little bit more about the story, and let me tell you about Goya y sus Majas, and whether it was his mistress or the art commissioner's mistress, because there's tea. I've been said for a while that I wanted to cover Goya. He was born in Puente Todos in Spain in 1746 on March 30th. So happy birthday, Goya. It's your birthday month. He had some children, but most of his children did not survive. He only had one child, one boy survived, Xavier, and he's the child who later released the dark paintings that Goya painted when he was like in isolation. His full name was Francisco de Paula Jose Goya y Lucientes. So I wanted to point out we're kind of tocayos. Like, I'm Paola, he's Paula. And he learned art before he studied it at actual schools. He learned it by copying other artists. So by copying the masters before him, seeing what they were doing, that's kind of how he learned. So very fitting for this series. Y'all know that I love learning from copying other artists and from just like seeing what they did. It really just like helps me develop my techniques if I can see other artists also develop their techniques. The Maja Desnuda, they believe that it was probably finished in between 1790 and 1800, but it was first seen by the public in 1800, in November of 1800. They don't know exactly who the woman in the portrait is, and they also don't know who commissioned the painting. However, they believe it was Manuel de Godoy, which was a prime minister at the time, and Goya was one of his main artists. And so they believe that the prime minister commissioned this sort of like Venus-like painting from Goya, and then Goya went ahead and made this for him, but this is not confirmed. So the reason why they think that Manuel de Godoy had these ones is because in 1808 the images, both of the paintings, were confiscated from Manuel de Godoy from his palacio by the Spanish Inquisition, and both of the images were always together. What they would do is they would keep La Maja Vestida de Goya in a room where it was like more upfront to the public, and then in like a separate room they would have La Maja Desnuda. So she was kind of like a little cheeky surprise if you stayed long enough in the museum. During the Spanish Inquisition, Goya did have to go to trial for the paintings. He had to explain why they were made, who he made them for. It was illegal in Spain to have nude art. We don't know what Goya said in his trial. We actually don't have any record of it. They kind of like were able to tuck that away, so we still don't know exactly who La Maja is. But I wanted to tell you guys a couple of stories. So there's two women that people believe that Maja might be. The first one is going to be the 13th Duchess of Alba, Maria Teresa de Silva, who was possibly in a scandalous relationship with Goya at the time that the Maja Desnuda was made. Now in the 1850s, they made a movie called La Maja Desnuda, so by the same name. I think that that's what it's called. I'll put it right here because I definitely got images from the promotion of that video saved. They wrote a book, and then the book was made into a movie, and the book was about Goya's affair with the Maria Teresa, with the 13th Duchess of Alba, and they used this image for the promotion. So some people say it looks like her, some people say it doesn't necessarily look like her. We never got full confirmation that this was actually the Duchess of Alba, but it was just kind of made like a commotion because of the book and film by the same name. Now, what people say the confirmation was for this not being the Duchess de Alba is because of how she is dressed in La Maja Vestida. So in La Maja Vestida, she's dressed a little bit more. One, Maja means like common woman in Spanish, or at least that's what it meant back then. It was a term used for just like a typical simple woman. She's dressed like a simple woman, and this kind of was a sign that the Maja Vestida was not the Duchess, or that the Maja was not the Duchess, because she wouldn't have been dressed like that, right? If she was a Duchess, she would have been dressed grand and not in these clothes. It was speculated that La Maja was actually Pepita Tudó, which was the mistress of Manuel Godoy, the guy who might have commissioned these paintings, but we don't know. So people definitely speculated that it was probably her, and that that's why she was kept as a Maja, and that Manuel Godoy had these paintings made of his mistress. So that could have been the reason why. I feel like if that was a reason, I probably wouldn't have wanted that answer to live on in my court documents forever. So some people in power made sure that that didn't happen. The final theory about who the Maja is would be a fictional character. Now, historians and artist professionals have taken a look at both of these paintings, the Maja Desnuda and the Maja Vestida, in comparison to Goya's actual portraits, because Goya was a royal artist. He made some of the most like recognizable portraits ever for the royal families, and I think that I'll put some on here so that you know which ones I'm talking about. Plus he also made a lot of paintings just depicting a lot of emotion, and his face, like the way that he does faces, is I think one of his strongest suits. And one of the things that people point out is that the styles of painting are very different in between both of the Majas and his portrait painting. So they think that this Venus-like creature might be a figment of Goya's imagination and not necessarily Pepita Tudor or Maria Teresa. It could just be, you know, somebody who Goya made up for the painting. Something to note too is when the Spanish Inquisition took the paintings away, they hid them for over 15 years. So from 1814 to 1836, nobody was allowed to see the paintings because they were kind of just put away by the Inquisition. And it wasn't until kind of like the turn of the century where we kind of got a little bit more access to them. The only thing that we have left from the Inquisition and from Goya's trial is that Goya compared it to Roque v Venus, a painting by Velázquez, and also a painting by Tizian called the Danae series. So he was kind of pointing them out to be these paintings that are mythical creatures of goddesses, and that's why he said he painted it. Right now they're at the Museo del Prado in España, and they have been there since 1901. So over 100 and almost 20 years, over 120 years is how long these paintings have been there. They are placed next to each other, although they always were not, but right now they are placed next to each other. The Vestida, Desnuda, and they have been kept together. They're only about 8 years apart in difference. I think that they decided that the Vestida probably was finished in the year 1808, so a couple of years before it was taken by the Inquisition. Why this painting was so revolutionary and controversial for the art world is because of the way that the Maja looks directly at the audience. So the way that the Maja is looking directly at the person viewing her is a very like straightforward gaze, which is something that had not been done specifically for women in paintings. I had to kind of picture that in my little painting. Like I definitely tried to have her be looking directly at you, but as you can see in this painting, it's a lot more technical and a lot less loose than this painting. Oof, let's see. Okay, so I basically have both of my images right here. I don't want to hold them right next to each other because I'm not ripping them out of my notebook. They have to stay in my notebook. So in the Maja Desnuda, I can tell there's a lot more detail, like in the sheets, in the bed, even in the blending. I actually found a new favorite blending brush while I was doing this skin. I don't know if you've ran into a brush that kind of looks like this, but it looks really similar to like an eyeshadow blending brush, and I really enjoyed blending the skin as well as like the bed sheets with it. And here is La Maja Vestida. The painting is like more of a close-up. It's more of a close-up in Goya's as well. So I added a little bit of yellow to like make the light and the gold resaltar, especially because this is yellow as well. I learned through both of them because in the first one I had to be very attentive to where all the brush strokes were. When I was painting the Maja Desnuda, I had to be really attentive to where all of the brush strokes were while I was painting it so that I would really capture what Goya captured as well. And then in the second one, I got to be a little bit more loose with it, and Goya was a little bit more loose with it too. So I was able to kind of like play with a little bit of a faster style, which ended up working out kind of perfectly for me. Honestly, I always learn a lot from these studies. I kind of always surprise myself with the fact that I can pull something like this off. Let's say you have a favorite painting by like a favorite artist. Maybe it's time to study it. Maybe it's time to try to make your little replica of it, even if it's just in your little notebook. I think I shouted out this little notebook a couple of videos ago, and honestly guys, like look at how many pages I have. This is when I last talked to you guys when I went to the museum. This is how many pages I have done since. Like honestly, if you're thinking of getting a little notebook, I would recommend getting one. I'm having a grand old time. And yeah, I had a really fun time creating this video for you. I had a really fun time painting both of Las Majas. here, and I had a really fun time telling you the scandalous story of whether it was Goya's mistresses or Manuel Godoy's mistress. We really don't know. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any ideas for the next one. I have a couple of things in mind, but also, yeah. Let me know if there's any other artists that I should check out and do a little study with me or learn from great artists from. And yeah, I hope you had a great time. I had a fun time filming this. I love you guys. Thank you for always coming to see my videos. It means the world to me. Extra shout out to my Patreon supporters. Honestly, like every single time that I get to post this little video a little bit early, it makes me feel like I made it, because there's like a couple of people waiting for my post like that. Okay, yeah, I hope you have a great week. Oh, it's because his mom literally just got here. It's time for her to eat. I will see you in the next one. I love you.